Hi, I'm Lee E. If you're preparing for the new TOEFL reading and your score is stuck around 4.5 or 5 in the paid mock test or the real test, this video is for you. In this video, I'll show you how these new reading section roughly works, how many mistakes you can properly afford, and where the strong students usually lose points. So here's how the scoring system roughly works. You have two reading modules. In reading module 1, you typically have 20 scored questions, 10 complete the words question, 5 daily life reading questions, and 5 academic passage reading questions. And in module 2, you always have 15 questions, 10 complete the words, and you also have 5 extra questions. This can be either academic passage questions. If you do well in module 1, then you'll get academic reading. But if you do not do so well in module 1, then you will get the daily life type of reading. All right, so a quick side note, you might get more unscored questions in each type of questions, but you won't know exactly which ones are unscored. You only know that if you get more than the ones I mentioned above, you have encountered some unscored questions. Another side note, since this is an adaptive test, if you do well in reading 1, you get a harder reading 2. Just like we said earlier, a harder complete the words in module 2 and 5 academic passage questions if you do well in reading module 1. Okay. But in reading module 2, the total number of questions always stay the same. It is just that if you do poorly in reading 1, you get an easier reading 2. That is, you get an easier complete the word section. That is 10 questions over there and 5 daily life reading questions. So how are you scored? Again, the manual explains that questions are weighted based on difficulty and how well they distinguish high and low performers. So technically, each question does not have exactly the same weight. Okay. There's no way for you to tell. You don't know. I don't know either. However, based on all my mock test data, I think treating every question as equally important is enough. Just count raw mistakes. That estimate is already very close for us. So very roughly from what I've seen, if you get 4.5 in terms of the scaled score, that is the final score that you see on the screen, you might still be losing around 4 to 8 questions. If you get 5.0, that means you lose about 2 to 3 questions. And if you get 5.5, maybe there are just 1 or 2 errors. And to get 4, you basically need to be perfect. So yes, it's not very forgiving. If you're taking the new TOEFL 2026 and want extra practice, timing, and scoring guides and updates as we collect more real results, there's a link below this video. Fill out the short form and I'll see. All right, I want to talk about the biggest trap. I've talked about this in previous videos, but I want to emphasize again. The biggest trap is actually complete the words. Most people assume academic passages are the hardest part, so that's where my score drops. But in reality, many strong students lose points in complete the words. Okay, not in academic comprehension. So if you're watching this video, basically your English is probably already strong enough to understand academic content. So what is the problem? You see a sentence, part of a word is missing, each blank is one full question. So you might be able to feel what you need to fill for many blanks, but sometimes that is not enough. And sometimes you do know the word, but the spelling is wrong and you didn't find out. So how do you deal with that? Well, I put the link to that video that explains the strategy to deal with this section in the description below. All right, then what's the issue, the biggest issue for daily task reading and academic passages? Again, if you're able to watch my videos in English and understand 100%, you likely do well. You likely can do well in these sections too. Then what's the problem? The blind spot problem. When humans read something for the first time, they sometimes form the wrong impression. Have you ever misread something in your native language and then realized the meaning was totally different after a second glance? That's probably what happens here for a lot of, very strong readers. How do you deal with that problem? I've put a link to my 6-step reading method in the video description below for you to check. But do you even have that problem? You should take a practice test to find out. The links are also in the description. And finally, if you want my free new TOEFL 2026 timing and scoring guides and test strategies, use the link in the description, fill out the short form, and I'll email them to you. Plus, updates as we collect more real scores. If your target is 5.5 or 6, reading is less about intelligence and more about precision. You don't need to be a genius. You need to stop giving away easy points.